All right, before we move on to our next session, I just want to get everyone moving and just get some blood flowing. So I request you all to stand up right where you are. Just stand up. No. Just move your body a little bit, you know? All right, everyone standing up, please. Yep. All right. I want you to put both your hands up. Both your hands up and do a little, I can't. And do a little moonlight down. Moonlight. Moonlight. Up again. A little moonlight. Again. Both hands, moonlight. Now turn to your left. High five the air. I wish you could be here just watching you guys. On the other side, and high five the air. Now I want you to hug yourself with a little smile on your face. Just hug yourself. Sway. Great job, great job. I love Italian music. I love Italy. I love Italian food. I think I was Italian in my last life. So, yes, everyone seated? Ready to move on with our next session? All right, perfect. So our next panel discussion is bringing together a dynamic group of women leaders who have carved paths to success. And their topic that they're going to discuss today is empowering women to claim their seat at the leadership table. Insights from Sheroes. Can I please call upon stage our panelists? Dr. Shanitra Chandran Segran, Doctor and Chief Executive Officer at Curist Counseling. Mary Pedler, founder at Input Communications. Sophia Lopez Galvez, Chief Executive Officer at Tagpuan Eco Park. Sophia is going to be our moderator today. Naila Kudiri, CEO of Nestle Communications Agency. Mary L. Jones, Community Financial Literacy Educator at Agora Community Services Corporation. And lastly, Elena Buriani, CEO, Leadership and Team Coach at Leah Growing People. This is going to be an interesting one. All right, over to you.
Hello, all right. Welcome to my co-panelists. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I hope everybody still has the energy to finish our 3-day conference on a very high note. And with that, because I have the energy, I will be moderating our panel for today. By the way, I am Sofia Lopez Galve, the CEO and co-founder of Tagpuan Eco Park Corporation in the Philippines, also the CEO of Mirror Studios Incorporated. So I am an advocate for ecopreneurship and ecotourism, and that is what I always spread the word about in our country in the Philippines. And now I have here the pleasure of introducing my co-panelists, very strong, independent women in their own fields. I have notes, of course. Of course, we have to my left is Ms. Nayla Kuidri, the founder and CEO of Nestle Communication Agency, and she stands at the forefront of innovative governance, guiding her organization to strategic growth and excellence. Her leadership approach is innovative and strategic, blending governance expertise with a commitment to organizational excellence, guiding businesses towards sustainable success with a focus on ethical practices and inclusive decision-making. Also, we have Ms. Elena Buriani over to the farthest left of the stage, or to your right. She is the CEO and co-founder of Leo Growing People. She is a certified executive leadership and team coach with a background in human resources and diverse experiences in various fields, including professional dance, music therapy, and Pilates instruction. With a focus on fostering sustainable leadership principles, she advocates for reducing limiting beliefs and instilling leadership from birth, creating secure, diverse, and inclusive ecosystems within the corporate landscape. Let's give Nayla and Elena a big round of applause. Beside Elena is Mary Jones. She is 67 and has operated Agora Community Services Corporation, a nonprofit HUD certified housing advising agency in Chicago, Illinois, USA since 2009. Her mission is to activate women to be ready for their destiny position of leadership by using financial literacy as it relates to housing as one of the foundational impact strategies. Let's give her a big round of applause. And next to Nayla is Dr. Shunitra Chandra Sagran. She is a medical doctor with 25 years of experience in the global healthcare industry. As an entrepreneur, she brings her transformational leadership and strategic business management expertise to small and medium companies through her consulting company, Querist Consulting in Malaysia. Her passion is helping organizations evolve through leadership, change management, and leveraging technology to become future fit. She also sits on boards of listed companies as an industry expert and invests in medical technology companies as an angel investor. And finally, of course, we have Mary Pedler. She is a seasoned communication expert and founder of Input Communications Agency and Input Lifestyle, with over 7 years of experience in GR and PR. Her expertise has significantly contributed to the success of over 50 tech projects, enhancing their organic media presence and aiding in raising over $500 million, by the way. So let's give everybody a round of applause. Very accomplished women, and that is why we are here today to talk to you about empowering women to claim their seat at the leadership table. And
Sophia, do you want to introduce yourself also?
well, I have a little bit. I'm also aside from the things that I've already mentioned earlier, I'm also an internationally published author and an events host, which so basically I do a lot of things in the Philippines, as you can imagine. I believe I may be one of the youngest in the whole conference, maybe. I'm 26. So yeah, it's nice to meet everyone, and we're very excited for this panel discussion. And of course, we're going to start with setting the tone. Why are we here? Why is there specifically a panel for women? composed of women, right? So for that, we're going to explore societal expectations. With that, I would like to ask Dr. Shunitra, what do you think, why do you think society frames us differently in a way of that we have our own thing about women empowerment?
Well, thank you, and it's really an honor for me to sit among these women. I feel really empowered, and named Sheroes is for the first time what I would add to my title. Now, I know everybody is charged up with the Latino dancing that we just did. Can I see a show of hands? How many of you agree or have experienced differentiation in how women have been treated versus men when it comes to leadership at your workplace? Excellent. So that's really why I think we are all sitting here today. I think the problem statement doesn't need that much more introduction. But what I'd like to say is, I've seen that there is an unconscious bias and there is a conscious bias that comes from the societal expectations. And between the two, the unconscious bias is extremely more dangerous and critical, I would say, simply because not only that it happens when we're not aware of it, but it actually happens to both the genders. Women as well as men treat women differently when it comes to leaderships. And I'll give you, there's a wealth of experience around this. I'll give you a couple of examples. There's an extremely powerful TED Talk that you can see about a study that was done in Europe where they found women startup funders consistently getting at least 20% less funding than the equivalent male-founded startups in terms of investment funding. And this was consistent across hundreds of startups and investor interviews that were done to look at this. Now the question is, why so? And how does that come about? The interesting thing was, it was not just that they got less funding, but the kind of questions that were asked for women founders when they were presenting their startup ideas by both men and women investors. Men got questions that were growth-oriented. So they would ask questions like, how can you scale this business further if I invested in you? But women got questions that were more risk mitigation related. So they would ask a question, if I invested in you, how can you assure me that your company will still be standing 2 years from now? How can you assure me that you have looked at all the risks? So there is definitely a very financially impacting difference in how men and women, and this is societal perception and an innate perception that exists within us. And I think in corporate existing companies as well, you see this. The higher you go in your leadership ranking in the company, the more differently you're treated. A male leader versus a women leader is set to different standards for performance expectations. So a woman leader is expected not only to be aggressive, authoritative, but also to be caring and inclusive. So which means to say, you have to be really demanding on what you expect out of your team or what you want delivered in the organization. But that doesn't stop there. You've also got to be able to give the team what they need to actually deliver on that or be successful with it. You have to be authoritative in the sense that you have to show them who's boss. You've got to show you a boss. But at the same time, you have to invite everybody's voice to have an opinion in how to get forward. So this is really not something that's easy to do. This is something that women who are sitting here have all gone through in their lives to get to where we have been. We've not so much complained about it, and I think I would speak for the whole team here to say that it's not all throughout our journey we even realized what sometimes we went through. But I think this is a real thing. Societal expectations on gender is very different on how we see men versus women in leadership. But there's lots we can do about it, and I think that's a conversation we want to bring to you as well.
Anybody care to share any of their thoughts regarding societal expectations?
Yeah,
Mary.
hi everyone. Thank you for your ideas. Well, I think that the only enemy that we have is us. Because, for example, based on my personal experience, like few years ago, I was very skeptical about like the panels and keynotes about women in tech amplifying the voices of women. For me, everything was quite simple. Like men are more capable of running business successfully. They have deeper mathematical skills, and it's easier for them to earn money. But then I was sitting in the company of friends, which were male, and there were around like, let's say 5 or 6 male friends. And the topic of intelligence and difference between men and women came up. And I was confident that, yeah, the girls have just less abilities to run business, and all other people in the room who were men were saying the opposite. We were arguing a lot, and what you need to do, like in the 21st century, you just Google things, right? And now you just the technology is even more sophisticated. You can ask ChatGPT, like, who has more cognitive skills, women or men? So the answer was, let me just read out loud. Men and women have similar cognitive skills, but there are some differences. The first one, verbal abilities. Women often outperform men in verbal tasks, particularly in language fluency and usage. So the first point goes to women. Second one, spatial abilities. Men often perform better in spatial reasoning tasks. But what it is about, it is basically about like engineering, building, so has nothing to do with business, right? Third one, mathematical skills. No consistent gender differences. So we're equal in mathematical skills. And the last one, memory. Women tend to have better episodic memory, especially verbal memory. So 2 points go to women. And yeah, so the only enemy that we have is basically us, and some perhaps cultural aspects that are only in our heads. Yeah, thank you.
I would also like to build on that. It is ourselves that become our enemies in terms of wanting to achieve more. And I feel like it's the problem really is about internalized doubts. I'd like to call it that, internalized doubts, because of cultural aspects. I believe that, there's a lot of cultures who, put women on the pedestal, but not as many cultures do it like that. So there are different cultures. For example, us in the Philippines, I'd like to contextualize it that way, that women are seen as leaders, but in their households. So we're not, we're not technically seen as leaders in a corporate setting. But now, we are progressing. I'd like to say that the Philippines is progressing as a country because we are more accepting of female leaders. We're actually empowering one another to become women leaders. But, there are a lot of untapped potential in a lot of young female in our young female population, because of this internalized doubt that they feel like they're not supposed to go out of the household and become someone else that they want to be, right? So it's internalized doubt. It's a lot. It's multi-dimensional. I feel there's a cultural aspect to it. There's an economic aspect to it. Definitely a political aspect to it as well. But yeah, so I feel like that is why it's a multi-layered thing, and that is why there is a specific framing to women empowerment that, differs between us and men. Care to share something, Naila?
If I can add on that, I totally agree, and I think there's also an educational aspect to it, is that it's very important to educate our girls that success, leadership, and resilience are not a gendered traits, but are just a human traits. I think that's very important to teach our girls that and incorporate these values in our educational system.
Right. So now let us contextualize that even further. Let's get specific real life examples as to why we have this very specific panel. And with that, we'd like to discuss the challenges that we've had along the way. And for this, I'd like Miss Mary to lead the table, towards that conversation. What has been your challenges in your leadership journey, and what have you learned from these challenges?
Well, is it on? I can hear me. All right. Personally, I believe at some point in time, you don't really get what you need in order to even be a leader. So it depends on where you are. If you don't go out, you're not going to learn. If you don't seek, you're not going to learn. You have to be willing to learn. So even once you reach wherever you're trying to be, you still have to continue to learn, to continue to be that leader, or someone will take your place. So as things evolve, you're still going to have to seek, because I guess sometimes you get in a position where you just believe it's going to happen, and it doesn't. For example, financial literacy is my heart. I believe everything is based on that and other things, but mostly on that because that's what this world is all about, right? Money, finances, economics. If we don't have a good handle on that, we'll be more focused on that or the problems or issues or concerns than what we should be. Then in even leading, how can you lead if you're more concerned about how are you going to pay your bills, or how are you going to be able to get the car that's necessary for you to be where you need to be, or maybe that house that you're the hostess and you're supposed to do it, you got to be somewhere and you can't even afford to do it. So financial literacy says that I know where I want to go and I know what my financial capacity is. So therefore, where do I want to go? How much do I need to build to get there? Once I know how much I need to get there, half the battle's done. Who can hold you back if money answers all things? If you have the money, you can get the education you need, you could be in the places that you need to be to meet the people that you need to meet, because that's exactly how I'm here. I said, this is my financial capacity. What do I need to be where I want to be? I knew how much it was. So it is up to us as women, but it's also up to our counterparts as well to know that you need us. Whether men feel it or think it or know it or understand it, with both of us together, anything can be accomplished, because something is always going to be missing if you allow us to not lead with you.
Anybody else care to share their thoughts? I think it's a very good starting point, to build on that, because it is indeed, we are very much needed in the society. And because of that, we'd like to move on to, of course, Miss Elena, to discuss on that. What do you think women bring to the table? Because our topic today is empowering women to claim their seat at the leadership table. But what do we specifically bring to the table as women? What is it about our specific or unique background and experiences and perspectives that can contribute, a very good impact to our organizations?
Thank you for the miss, and thank you for the question. So I truly believe that within every woman and also within every man, there's a man and a woman inside. So we all have female traits, we all have male traits as women and men. So it's extremely important we are aware of how to master those dimensions within ourselves healthily. Why I'm saying that is because sometimes as women, we do forget about our stronger traits and we turn ourselves into men in order to fit in corporate. And if we do not do that, sometimes we tend to fade out and go into the super female, unconscious, biased, character that we have impressed in our mind. So the invitation here is really embrace what make your female traits unique, either if you are a man or a woman. And what I want to say about that is that as women, when we embrace our female energy, We want to be welcoming. We want to be round. We want to be open. This is also how we are made. We are given with a womb, and this is what the womb is meant to do. So, of course, sometimes you will be asked to go straight towards your results and be very focused, but our nature is to go there cyclically, is to go there dying and rebirthing over and over again. So it's extremely important even to keep being healthy, to remind ourselves that sometimes, yes, you need to embrace that male energy, go straight to the focus, not hesitate, go and get it. But sometimes we also need to balance that by thinking, observing, welcoming, listening, trying out, failing, standing up again, and try again, moving forward, far away, coming a little bit back, checking, are we together? So it's extremely, extremely important. I would love to add something else about inclusivity in this. If we are not able first to include all the parts of us that we have within, you know, talking about myself, the Elena with the female energy, the Elena with the male energy, the Elena that is a stickler, the Elena that is a hyperachiever, the Elena that is a pleaser, the Elena that is a carer, a lover. How many Elena do I have? So many, you know? How can we start first talking about inclusivity, starting by learning how can I include all the many Elena that I have in me so I can stop this negative self-talk and I can put the right character in the right place. Start with the self. And then you can start including others. I think, in my personal story, I've been extremely gifted because I have been dancing for 20 years, 8 years in a corps ballet. I've been singing for 12 years in a multi-ethnical choir with the voices and people from all over more than 80 countries. And I got given with a neurodiverse child. So for me, really, was not an option to think that I could get there alone. Harmony is there when you harmonize all the part and the character within yourself. And knowing those, you can harmonize and see all the beautiful part and characters within people around you. As women, as we are the creators, and we know how important the months is, the 9 months of the gestational period is, we have a different relationship with time. We have the ownership of respecting cyclic thing in projects, in products, in everything. So inclusivity is key, I would say.
All right. Would anybody else like to chime in on the topic of, yes, Dr. Shinitra?
Yeah, I think I really like the way you put it because you brought the soft sides of how women contribute in that balance. And I think the key word there is really about balance. There are really a lot of studies that have shown that men are very number focused, and in a business you need that balance. You need someone to be really looking at that number, being aggressive about winning in the market. What's the competition doing? How do you fight, right? And women bring that soft side. How do you fight, but while bringing everybody along? How do you collaborate? How do you make sure that people want to feel like they want to fight with you out there in the competition? And women are also very meticulous. You know, if you look at jobs in your organization that need someone to look through every single cell of a 1,000-page Excel sheet, would you put a man or a woman behind that? Most likely you put a woman behind it. But when you look at a board or at an executive committee that's making decisions, you need a balance of both. You need someone to see the big picture, you need someone to dive in and look at those details, and together, then you make a better decision. And I think for me, that's what women bring to the table. They bring that balance.
All right. And I would also like to add that, I'm, as a person, I feel like I'm the type of person who likes to look at things as gray and not black and white. There's a, the world is complex, our lives as people are complex, and it's not, you cannot just dualize everything, you cannot just put everything into a compartment. And I believe on the topic of releasing our feminine energy, it's more of a linguistic tool for us to give you a better framing for this, like just to make it easier to comprehend. We're using these terms to make it easier for us cognitively to realize what male and female differences are. So, for example, what I'm trying to say here is, for example, on the flip side of women not getting their seat at the leadership table, there is also the flip side where men who exhibit feminineness, or female qualities are not getting the opportunities that they should be getting just because they have these qualities that are technically associated to us women. And it's not just about women not getting opportunities. It's basically everybody who has female qualities, the feminine energy, who are not getting enough opportunities in their lives, especially in their careers. And again, it's more of a linguistic tool that we're trying to make a duality between men and women here.
Absolutely, I totally agree with that. And if I may add, is that whether you're a man or a woman, mastering your female and male energy will help you to lead with both strength but also sensitivity, which is very important.
Yes. What we're trying to do is to capitalize on what you understand is male and female energy, because I believe even if we don't say that the female quality is that we're empathetic, that we sympathize with people more easily than men, or it's about being caring and loving, I think you already know, or you already have an image in your mind when we say female energy and when we say male energy, even if we don't give you adjectives to support that. So yes. Now, moving on, speaking of female and male energies, how do we actually balance these two, personalities within us? And for that, I would like to ask Mary. Mary, how do you balance work and life in general? And also, how do you balance the male and female energies within us?
Yeah, thank you for asking. So I have a little responsibility, which is my 4-year-old daughter that I'm living with and raising right now. And I also have a business which consists of 90% of female, by the way, and we're working in a man-centric tech world. So I think it is for women especially, it's very important to find the work-life balance, because we are always trying to be everyone at the same time. We're always trying to keep all personalities at the same time and be good in all personalities that we have. But, for example, if you're planning to spend some time with your daughter, then you need to spend high quality time with your daughter. You don't need to work at the same time. So I think this thing is helping me a lot. If you work, you don't need to play with your daughter at the same time. Same with sport. If you're doing sport, just do yoga, leave your thoughts behind you, just be at this period of time now. And yeah, this is, I think, the main thing that is helping female a lot.
Yes.
I think if I could build on, do you want to build on that? Go build.
Yeah, it's quick. One thing I really believe that keeps us from balancing is organizing. We, in our lives, I don't know anyone here that doesn't have a lot of things they're thinking about right now. I know you're not paying attention. I know your mind keeps going somewhere else that you have a responsibility, or you're thinking about afterwards, or whatever you need to do. But the point is that we have to be able to keep in mind that organizing in every area of our life. Don't leave anything out. Your play, your work, children, home, whatever it is you do that takes 1 iota of your time, I don't know if that's a word or not, 1 moment or 1 second of your time, because it's a precious thing. You can't get it back. So in organizing, what we're saying is that we're very good at it, or we think we are, but we really better check ourselves. What strategies do we have in place to help us organize? Who's going on their memory? Raise your hand. I don't see no one's hand going up, so that's a good sign. I don't know if you're telling me the truth. But a lot of people do not use any strategies, tools, things that help us to organize. That frees up a lot of stress. It frees up a lot of our time. I always give one quick example. If you look at your schedule the day before, of every day, you're looking at it the day before, you can plot if that schedule is really working for you or against you. You're not going to be that leader you need to be if you're stressed out. So instead of your day going like this, your day is supposed to be going like here, this, and this. And that gives you that peace. It helps you to balance, and those types of things are contagious. You walk into a workplace, you're going to be stress-free, and guess what? A lot of people there will be also, because you're bringing that energy. You're bringing that. You have the power to. I'm not saying men can't either. You can too. It's up to us to actually do it and not just think it's going to happen just by a miracle. It's going to happen because we are strategizing and finding those tools to help us. Don't worry about it. Ask for help.
I love that you interrupted me because what I wanted to say is built on that, which is after you have organized, you can give yourself permission to be present. Guess what? You know? So, and if you are present while you're playing with your daughter, you are really with your daughter. Not that you are physically there, but you're still thinking, what is my next task on the agenda? You know, because you have looked at your agenda before you went to bed, and you're going in autopilot. If you go autopilot with your task, then you can be present in the relationship. You know, you can be there. You know, you can be focusing the tasks you're doing without thinking what's next. Because that's what takes us away from the balance we are looking for. You can't be really there if your mind is loaded with the worries. So mindfulness, you know, I'm not saying meditation, but be mindful of what you're doing right now. And if you organize ahead of time, you can. So it's fantastic.
Yes. So obviously, women balance a lot of things. We juggle a lot of things. So there's work, there's life, and then there's also advocacies, you know, the missions, the purposes that we hold dear in our hearts. And for that, I would like to ask Nayla. Nayla, what are the specific initiatives, programs that you have done, or any, you know, specific programs that you have in terms of inspiring and encouraging women leadership?
I'm going to try to be quick, as I see we don't have a lot of time. In my personal experience, I am a woman, but I'm also a young woman, so I had to fight a lot to have my seat on the table. And something that I have initiated is mentorship. I believe in education, like Mary Jo says, before becoming a leader, you have to learn to become a leader. So mentorship is something that I do on my everyday life, teaching women how to deal with skepticism and with feeling and valued. In my personal experience, what I did is I basically merged marketing with science, neuroscience. That's how I was able to have my seat on the table. So just helping women find what value, what is their value, what they can bring on the table and focus on that because that's their strength. The other thing that I do is that I do have 2 nieces. One is 7 and one is 10, and I try to educate them that leadership is not just about men, but it's about being human. The goal here is not to be anti-men or pro-women. We're all in this together, and it's about equality, and it's about teaching them that there are stories, there are success stories across the globe, everywhere in the globe, about women who were able to master their expertise and be the best in it. That's what I would say.
And right, and you know what I love about this panel specifically is that each and every one of us bring a certain flavor to the table, because each of us has different advocacies that we fight for. Of course, for example, Miss Mary has her mission to deliver financial literacy as it relates to housing. And for myself, it's about introducing ecopreneurship in the Philippines and inspiring other tourism operators to embrace ecotourism, you know, and to integrate environmental conservation into our business models. And I believe that is what women bring to the table. We bring this passion, this burning passion for our purposes, that in a way that we can and have successfully integrated these advocacies into our business models. And we have made, you know, very proven methodologies that these businesses are profiting. Businesses are supposed to have a purpose, not just aside from, of course, being profitable. There's a purpose of it being, you know, bringing something inspiring to the humankind, you know, being able to advance our causes and doing it alongside with profiting in our own businesses. I think that's the flavor, that's the specific and very unique quality that us women bring to the table. And I think at this point we are ready to receive questions from our audience, so please do ask away. All right. And I hope, you know, while we're waiting for, all right, I think we have a question.
I actually wasn't sure if I wanted to ask this, because it might be a bit controversial. But I'm thinking about the elephant in the room when it comes to women being accepted into leadership circles. And how much do you think that a male insecurity plays into that space?
Man's insecurity without microphone?
So how much do you think that male insecurity plays as a contributing factor to women being accepted into leadership circles?
I'll take that. Can I take that?
Go ahead.
I'm going to take that. No, I think, you know, I come from a perspective where my husband, actually, which is also a coach and a co-founder with my organization, but also a manager in Google, so a big company, has been a lot, you know, judged and put out of the game because of his strong female energy. And you know, in his journey of self-empowerment and development, he had to really allow himself to deal with his vulnerability. And this is the biggest difficulties for the majority of male out there. Because of our background, culture, biases, you name it, we always have that idea that while the woman is kind and welcoming, the man is tough and hard and is not allowed to make mistake and is not allowed to feel insecure and is not allowed to show any type of emotion and to ever look weak. And I think that leadership should move in that direction. In those 3 days, we heard about authenticity, we heard about VUCA, we heard about vulnerability. This is the way forward, because as soon as the first man will be brave enough to show I'm vulnerable and yet I'm resilient and strong, it will open a movement for other men to feel the same. And psychological safety is the foundation of every efficient team and every organization. So it requires also a lot of bravery to show it's okay for me to fail. As women, we are very used to say it's okay for me to fail, you know, even too much. And maybe we need to say it's okay for me to speak. It's okay for me to sit in this leadership table, and I own it, you know. So bravery is always the key, bravery and courage. And how do we create movement? The movement is not created by the first person who is courageous and stand up, but the movement is created by the second person. We will sit close to that person. So we need to trust that even if we go very out of our comfort zone, somebody might resonate with us and we might be role model. Did I answer to your question?
I have another answer too. The other answer is insecurities is male nor female. It's human. So if anyone can tell if someone's insecure, even though you don't go around announcing it or anything. But if you sense that, we're supposed to help each other. So how we respond to each other, how we lift each other up, how we just smile just to make someone's day. A man can smile, you can, be free. It's important because that can help that person that was insecure that morning change their whole perspective that day and make the best decision because of that. So it's not male or female. Insecurities is human. And if we approach it that way, we'll have a better workplace.
If I may add, also insecurity, if you accept your own insecurity, the other person will accept it too. So start with working with yourself, accepting that you're human, and it's okay if you don't have the answer to take action. If you're okay with it, people will be okay with it.
Were we able to answer the question? Thank you. Yes.
So I've got a company with offices, Shanghai, Ho Chi Minh City, Phnom Penh, women at the head of each of those offices. I did that because I'd been burned so many times by men who betrayed me, and the women were loyal, and the women they seemed smarter, but they were just more focused. And things were going well, and I became very dependent on these women, and then one day somebody got pregnant. And then I said, oh my God, what am I going to do? How am I going to run this company? And I was fearful. And I took a breath, and it was fine. And not only was it fine, but it was beautiful. And it's like I'm a grandpa, all over the world. And I have all these beautiful children that I know, and these wonderful families that I get to visit. And as a testimony to women, they made it work. We didn't skip a beat, even though, it's like in China, it's like 4 months. The maternity leave is like 4 months. And my head person over there at the time, I just didn't know how I was going to survive it. But there's other women in the office, and they all pulled together as women, and they made it work, and everything worked out fine. So my question is, I think we're getting close to getting over that point. But I think that was a big hindrance for men and organizations at one time, this maternity leave, and what will we do, and what will happen to the leadership, and how do we get past that? And I wondered if anybody had some experience they'd want to talk about in that regard. That might be an interesting topic.
Ask a woman. They will give you a lot of suggestions. Well, that's kind of out there, but yes, it's asking, because there are so many creative ways to get problems solved, and it's all about communication. So in any corporation, if there is a communication and we're talking to everybody, we're going to find the answer. Someone there has it. So it's not that it's not findable, it's whether or not we're looking for the answer for it. And therefore, we won't have the fears. The fears will go away because we know our team, everyone here, we have a problem. We're going to meet, let's talk about this, or send your messages or send your suggestions in the inbox or whatever. But there is an answer in every corporation. There's a way to get it done. There is nothing we can't solve if we communicate.
And I think for corporations, it's very important for them to take women seriously, in a sense that believe in our capacities and abilities, and they should not look at it as gendered, because I have had experiences before, because before I was an entrepreneur, I also had a corporate job, and I felt like I was not being taken seriously because the opportunities that were given to me we're only because maybe I can communicate well. That's the ability level. But the other one would be it's because I'm, pretty to look at, which is very demeaning. And it feels like the organization has not really taken me very seriously at my capacity as a human, not even just as a woman, but as a woman. And I feel like, it's communication. They communicated to me, but, in a very bad way, I feel, in a very improper way. But my personal suggestion for corporations out there is to treat women just as humans, just as humans, and look at our capacities and abilities and not associating it with how we look like or what our family status are. And that's it. Just take women seriously. Yes.
Yes, hello. Thank you to all the panelists. It's been super insightful to hear your thoughts. So my question, which may be a bit controversial, but here we go. So I see in most of the women leadership events that usually on the panelists, there are only women. And following the same thought that Elena was saying, it is on the men leadership as well where the change needs to happen. So what are your thoughts on these type of events that are women leadership, women empowerment summit, only having women on a stage? I'd like to hear your thoughts on what you think. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you for that question, because I think, that touches upon a very important differentiation. When we talk about this topic, very often I feel if we're talking with just a room full of women, then we're preaching to the choir. Whereas when you involve the men, then you actually might make a step forward in the right direction. Because, as I first said, this is an unconscious bias that affects us to behave this way, and that unconscious bias actually happens to both men and women, which is why we're there in that way. And personally, I am a member of a 30% club, which is something of a support group for women. And this has been very powerful, run by volunteers, but in providing both men and women to actually interact, network, and have conversations just about this topic. And the reason we do this is because this conversation cannot take place in a corridor in your corporate organization on a regular day. It's unnatural. It might even be perceived as a waste of time when you could be working on something more productive. So, to answer your question, it's extremely important to have men in this conversation every time we talk about making this conversation move to the next step forward. As you asked a very good question, I think this is not a problem that men create for women, but men are struggling as well in this issue that we're talking about here. So setting aside time that is specifically for men and women to speak about this topic in a way that we find solutions is extremely important. And I think this room looks pretty balanced to me, where we're sitting with men and women having this conversation. So this is the right way forward.
I think I also dream for a future where we're not talking about things and traits that comes with gender, but traits and traits that are there, So not the Sheroes award or the female awards. I mean, why don't we make a fantastic award where we talk about empathy and we are mixed gender, or a fantastic award when we talk about resilience and we are mixed gender. So there are definitely strengths and values that in the humankind, for us to develop our leadership and our impact in the world, we all have to develop despite our gender. So I hope in a world where there's no label, and as you know, with what I've been going through, there's definitely one thing that I hate, which are boxes and label, but where we can all be, the same despite, gender, working together to improve in all aspects of our character. And so I say, times is up. I'm the next. Give me the stage. Thank you, Soha. We are done.
Yes, we are done. I hope you were able to answer the questions. Thank you so much, everybody.